Hi, my name is Genus, and today I want to walk through a new feature which just pushed up to the site now and give a bit of an explanation. One of the things which I've been trying to do for a fair number of years is to identify the actual bacteria shifts that have a strong association to a particular symptom. And years went on and data slowly start growing in terms of people uploading the data and then annotating with the symptoms. Over the last, actually, a bit more than a month, I've been reworking with the data and doing some deep dives and some heavy-duty calculations to try to confirm and then validate it. Now, what has happened is, at the Genus level, I had good results, and Genus levels are sweet because no matter which microbiome tests you're using, they always report the genus and a large number of genuses. There are about 800 different genuses which are potentially possible. Different test reports, different ones. So that, of course, creates some interesting challenges in terms of doing things. The results of which I've done as a series of technical notes there, which are pretty technical at times. It presupposes statistical knowledge and microbiome knowledge. Now, from the genus and the annotated symptoms to samples, I was able to produce a model where we have a good number of bacteria association. So let me think. Okay, we're on the site. This lovely little crown will be there for only a few more days. Then my permission from the Genus Warehouse to use it will expire. I may apply to do it again, but for the moment, it's just a bit of splash. Okay, now if you go up to here on Genus on symptoms, you will see all sorts of symptoms. So if you do something like brain fog, you see that we have 352 different genuses reported for bottom side, 410 from ombre, which are bacteria with association. If you click one or the other, you will go and get the list and whether or not this particular genus is elevated or reduced. And then we end up actually going into the nightmare of problems, which is the taxonomy nightmare before Christmas, which is being part of my scope of trying to solve the problem, because it just becomes messy to take data from one site and apply it to another lab. Just absolutely messy. The averages will be different, standard deviation will be different, even patterns will be different between labs. As we can see here, we have more samples from biomosite, but we have less genus identified. We have less samples from ombre, but we have more patterns identified. So it's a lot of statistical angst for a statistician. Okay, now, cutting through all of the angst I've been going through, believe me, it's been a lot, I ended up finding some nice things. And one of the things is using the model which generates from the data and actually avoiding the use of site-specific means and standard deviation. I ended up with the model getting this absolutely lovely chart for brain fog. We have 0 all the way along here, and then suddenly it takes off and takes off. The training data I had was based on 31%, which is about from here on over having it. Now, what we have in all reality is people with brain fog who, well, they don't really have brain fog far enough that they would actually deem it to be a symptom. They just describe it as something like cognitive slowness, other things. So we have the mild cases of brain fog, which actually takes up pretty quickly and then builds up to severe brain fog. So we end up having a chart which probably accurately represents what's out there. And the model is good at forecasting. Now the bacteria which it has picked are anyone from 400 or more different bacteria, and it does it in an interesting way. Bacteria rarity is usually something which is generally ignored, or a statistician or a microbiologist would go, yuck. I don't want to deal with that. I don't know how to deal with it, so I'll toss it away. In this case, we are using all of the rare bacteria in our analysis, rare bacteria which we happen to have enough of to get the statistical significance from it, which is sort of sweet. So the result is we often are using several hundred ones for the analysis. Now, to translate it over into practical terms, if you log into microbiome prescription, here you will go into my samples, and we have, wrong button. And then we have symptoms, and we can go and click on enter symptoms. Oops. I need to figure out why that one is not working. I have a severe, but more importantly, if we go over to special studies, what we will have is we have the things that match, and these are arranged in declining order, the number here is an indicator of how good a match is. Higher the numbers, sometimes I've seen it up at 60, it's better there. And actually, for a number of them are reasonably close to reality in terms of the forecasting. It's pretty good. Age 60 to 70, well, I'm a little bit past 70. Pets, I do have. Depression, a little bit on occasion. Chronic fatigue, I've had that as diagnosis. That one I'm not sure. I haven't actually tested. Hair loss, getting a little bit, not too much. Amalgam fillings, yes. I've had hypercoagulation. Actually, when I had ME/CFS, I did not have it with IBS. This one is interesting because I would say I have it. I'm high functioning autistic, and I live with good air quality around me. I'm not female, I'm male. Well, and then we start getting down as the numbers goes down, the likelihood decreases. So that's basically it. So now I can go and say, okay, here is that. I'm going to do all my usual choices, and I can just click here, and I'll get the suggestions coming through, things I should have, which is basically lauric acid, mustaric acid, pomegranate, etc., and things to avoid. Nice and simple, and this is dealing explicitly with depression. It is a single one, and here we have of literally 300 bacteria, the ones that I have, which I have reported, which have the association. I have matching association, and some of them are familiar, some of them are not your usual one. So that is basically it in terms of there. And now let's go back to my profile, and I'm going to see if I can find a okay, this one I do have things marked here. The list here is based on an older method of forecasting symptoms, which is fine. It just happened to be there. And now we go over to update symptoms. Okay, I have to figure that out and stop for a moment and come back. Okay, quick typo error in changes I made this morning, so now it's fixed. So now what happens is you go over and you have, instead of the symptoms just by name, they're now listed off by the ones you are most likely to have based on your microbiome. So for example, non-celiac gluten sensitivity. There we can go to a different one, let's say biome site here, and we have the same thing showing up. And we can go over and let's take a look at one of the old ones, uBiome, ages ago. And there we have where I have, and this was the time which I was having ME/CFS very active, unrefreshed sleep, neurological things. So we have the list here, and age 60, 70 again was a hit. General fatigue, some pain, decision making official, all of which was consistent with that point of time. That's the real early one. Air hanger, Northern European was a match. Allergies, etc. So again, some of these values can be up in the 60s or 70s. The lower the number, the better. If the number is 16 or below, chances are pretty slim that you do not have that particular symptom. So 16 is roughly the magic break point between having and not having. The values are computed anyways, but that's it. So to continue back, we have our list of special studies with the notes here, which is available as a page, and it's sitting there right at the top of the pages, nice and easy to get to. And it takes you through all the ugly details. It has some, I must admit, very impressive predictive patterns, as in correctly identifying people who have a symptom based on the microbiome alone. And that means that if we can identify on the microbiome alone, it would imply that if we change the microbiome to reduce or raise according to whichever way the bacteria is going, that the symptoms will mitigate themselves. And we get different patterns for different things. For example, for Alzheimer's, pretty much flat, and then you start getting a few with Alzheimer's, which is somewhat like here, as in the rarer the condition is, the more likely we are to have everybody's flat, and then this odd, unique combination is what causes it, or what is characteristic of it, with the concept or the hope that correcting the microbiome will reduce the symptoms or reverse the condition entirely. So that's basically it. So, long and short, all the information is sitting there. You have, if you want to do it, and whatever, you can just go over and look up things. You get a list of the symptoms. As you can see, where for my example, we have general depression, we have 388. So 388 genuses were compared against my sample. If and only if that genus is reported, do we test if it's a match. If it is a match, as in my genus is above the 50th percentile, or 84th percentile, we deem it a match. If my genus below the 16th percentile, we deem it to be a match. And once we've done all the matches, we end up with what percentage of the candidates' genuses are actually matches converted to a percentage. 16% means generally could too easily be random. When it gets up to 30% matches, it's a pretty strong relationship. And if you go up to 60, it's a very strong relationship, which means that we probably have nailed the bacteria. In my case, the grand total of bacteria nailed was 8, which it means that 388 here is not an overwhelming number. What it does, it identifies very specifically the ones which matches the pattern accurately. Okay, I think I'm done blabbering on. We have, again, quick recap. Complete openness to it. You can go and see what genus is involved and which way they're shifted. If you have an upload the sample, you can do it one of two ways. You can go in and look at it. You can enter symptoms, for example, just one. And when we add a symptom in, then we also have the ability to have more choices. And that one just gives things in order. I should change that over to incorporate the priorities. and the regular way, which is update symptoms, where we have them forecast by highest forecast probability, and we have over here whether or not you have checked it or haven't checked it. And this particular case, there disappears. Again, the quick entry is designed to, as you add stuff, we hide it, so the only thing left are things you haven't done. Update, and there we have everything, and just go on from there. Okay, that's it. Mathematics, complexity, statistical analysis, that is a whole messy topic, and believe it or not, I had my server PC pegged at 70% for 3 weeks in order to finally get the numbers out looking the way I want them to. And there's more work to be done, but we are at a good point for sharing, and it's up there.